Happy Star Wars Day, Adam.
Oh, God, okay. Happy Star Wars Day, Mike. We're recording this on the 4th of May, aren't we? So that's
we
why you're saying
really, really are. For anyone that hasn't picked up on it yet, I am a big Star Wars fan, so I brought not all of my Star Wars memorabilia along. I have filled my screen with my Star Wars memorabilia. I have my special edition Adidas Originals Star Wars Vader and Skywalker specials. I've got the Charlie's. That one there I had to steal. That's actually my little boy's because I don't have that one yet. So I had to steal that one. And I thought...
For the benefits of those listening, what one is that, Mike?
That is the Club Tijuana Rise of Skywalker special. So I have the red one, which is the outfield. I do not, Adam does, annoys me, have the goalkeeper one, which is the white one with the Stormtrooper on. And I need to get it. So I've stolen my little boys for the sake of my display. And I have also put my favourite helmet in as well. You have no idea what that is, do you, Adam? Because you wouldn't have watched The Acolyte, would you?
Okay, so I can't actually see it anyway because when we're recording, it's a split screen thing. So
yeah,
that's my excuse. I'm going to say it's, I don't know, Bobby Fett.
No,
is it Darth Vader?
It's not. It's not. No. So I do have. So anyone that's listening now that collects other merch and memorabilia as well as football shirts will know that
is it a Stormtrooper?
It's not a Stormtrooper, but I do know someone who I saw wearing a Stormtrooper helmet this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I get onto that.
No, this one, Adam, is this one. It is from a series that is on Disney Plus called The Acolyte, which basically nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. And basically this series was absolutely slated before it even aired. So everybody review bombed it with really bad reviews. And I'm one of the few that actually really, really likes it. So my first recommendation to the day is if you haven't watched The Acolyte, go and watch it because it's actually really, really good. But Adam, I'm not just going to talk about Star Wars stuff, I promise. I'll get my lightsaber out later. But basically, I do have a question for you that leads in. My brother texted me the other day and he sent me basically a picture of some football shirts that had been made by bands. A little in the way of, do you recall the West Ham Iron Maiden stuff that we saw? Kind of like unbranded stuff like that. And then it got me thinking a little bit. I've got the Star Wars one. So what do you think about football shirts that are not really football shirts? They're just memorabilia made to look like football shirts, like this kind of thing.
Good question. Ordinarily, I'm not a fan. However, I do own one because do you remember Bands FC?
Yes.
So they used to do lots of badges in the style of bands. I think their most famous one was the PSG meets Daft Punk club badge. And that was very, very cool. And they had a period of time where they started releasing football shirts. And one of them they did was a pulp one, which was in kind of like the style of Sheffield Wednesday. So it's blue and white stripes, had Disco 2000 on the front of it. And I bought that one because it was a pulp one. And so I can't really be critical of them because I own one. But generally, not normally for me, but I'm not going to judge it. So, yeah, I'm sitting on the fence a little bit there. But yeah, they're all right.
No, I get it, though, because I am kind of the same. When my brother sent me the image of the shirt, I forget what it was now. I'll have to have a look in a minute and see. But I kind of said to him that I think it kind of splits the collecting community down the middle a little bit because some people are very into it. Some really aren't, are dead against it. It's not a real football shirt. We know it's not a real football shirt. I know what I'm wearing now is not a real football shirt, but I don't care because I love it. And there are people like yourself, and I think like me, that kind of sit in the middle and think, well, I don't love them, especially the kind of like unbranded stuff. Like if there's an Adidas collab with Star Wars or other stuff like that, then I'm kind of into it a little bit more. But I'm a bit like you. I don't really judge on it. And that was pretty much what I said to my brother. Like, I don't mind it. I think it's quite cool in certain instances. If you're going to see, just as an example, there were the Oasis Adidas ones from not long ago when Oasis did the tour and everything. And I thought those were pretty cool. Yeah, I quite like it. Nike do some NASA shirts and stuff like that in the style of football shirts, which I quite like. Yeah, I quite like it. But
yeah,
right.
I'm like you. I'm not against it per se. I remember Adidas, I think it was last year, brought out the Glastonbury shirt. Do you remember that one? It's almost like the Ipswich template.
Yeah.
Very brightly coloured. and people love that one. And yeah, I mean, it's just fashion, isn't it? I mean, football shirts are fashion anyway. It's up to collectors. So yeah, one thing I will never be a fan of is stuff like score draw stuff. I don't like that kind of thing. But designs that are inspired by football shirts, that whether they have bands on or whether like they're inspired by a festival, I've got no qualms with that really. Or Star Wars, your ones are quite nice. Wouldn't wear them myself, but that's the joy of
Why not?
collecting, isn't it?
I bet you would if it was Star Trek, though, wouldn't you? Anyway, let's not get into fighting over Star Wars and Star Trek because you say things that annoy me when we start talking about Star Wars. Um, I do have a question for you because you are wearing a rather wonderful shirt, Adam.
I am. I am wearing yet another Adidas Trefoil anniversary shirt, and this is one that kind of caused a little bit of a fuss. So it's the Copenhagen 150th anniversary shirt. And firstly, it kicked up a bit of a fuss because some people was probably quite rightly saying that actually there was a merger between two clubs and Copenhagen are nowhere near 150 years old. But that's by the by. So the shirt itself, for those listening, is very similar to the Olympiakos anniversary shirt, but instead of being red, it's blue. If we're being very technical, the stripes are different. So the blue of this shirt, the central stripe is blue, whereas on the Olympiakos, the central stripe is white, then it goes red. And then the Olympiakos one has a bit of red on the collar as well, but it's essentially the same template. Very nice shirt. I was very glad to get it, but did you see the fuss about it, or specifically surrounding a very popular online retailer?
I heard a little bit about it, and I do recall whilst I was busy at work, I believe you and Scott had a little bit of a chat about it in the group, didn't you? Yeah. So what was the deal?
Yeah, so we did. So essentially, the shirt came out. It was released in the club shop, on the club shop as well, online, and I believe Unisport, which are a European seller, for approximately £90 equivalent. And then it went up on classic football shirts for 130. And they obviously got a lot of pushback from this. A lot of people saying it's cheaper for me to order it from Denmark, direct from the club. I'd rather do it from classic football shirts because it's in the UK, it'll be quicker, and you can often get a 10% discount on it. Why is it 130 quid? And there was some pushback. And Scott and I had a chat in our group chat about it. And I said that actually I think they will bring it down because they started responding to people and they said, this is what we've been told. We're looking into this. So I hedged my bets and I bought it from Classic Football Shirts, believing that I may well get a refund. Did get a lot of the money back because they then brought the price down. And what actually happened, the shirt then went up on Adidas for £130. And I think what happened is Adidas set the price. Classic Football Shirts went with that. People pushed back. They brought it down. But that is the price that Adidas set, which is wild. And I will often be critical of classic football shirts. But we're not going to sugarcoat things on this podcast. We never have done on the last one. I don't always like some of their practices when it comes to sniping on eBay and then reselling things for high amounts of money. But when it comes to modern shirts, they're actually pretty good because you can always get that 10% discount. And I think they actually probably deserve a bit of credit for going, actually, this is the price that it was set, but we also don't agree with this. So we've had a bit of pushback. We're actually going to sort it out. So I didn't even have to do anything. They just refunded me like 36 quid straight away, brought the price down. So yeah, that's football shirt news. That's what we talk about. We find this stuff interesting, but yeah, just popped up and thought it was a strange thing that happened.
Yeah, they've done it before, haven't they? When they've
Mm,
mispriced something. Look, I'm not here to chill for classic football shirts. It's just not
absolutely
what we
not.
do.
No.
If there's a time for them to be criticised, it'll absolutely be done. Like you say, with a couple of practices with sniping things on eBay and things like that. But at the same time, that's hard to do anything about. You know, you pay a bit more, you might win it yourself. It's an annoying situation, but it happens anyway. But yeah, this thing, I kind of say all credit to them for refunding the money because they didn't have to. That's the truth of it. They don't. I don't think they're in the position where they care too much about what people are saying about them on
No.
Twitter, because whether we from the community buy them or not, they'll sell, and that's that. But yeah, fair play to them, and it's a lovely shirt as well. I'm interested in it because I saw a few people saying, "Oh, it's another template." Yes, can we stop that? Come on, stop the template nonsense. Templating happens; it has for 50 years. Let's stop being silly about it. But the Olympiacos, that one, the Nuremberg, isn't it? They all look fantastic, in my opinion. And I'm really, just really, 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 really hoping that Fenerbahce get that classic striped, even if it's that template just made
I mean,
into
it has been rumoured, hasn't it? There's been a couple of
it
leaks from it as
has.
well.
Yeah, so if they do, I'll be very, very happy. But Adam, we need to talk about another shirt release. So basically, we're coming into what we call kind of shirt release season proper now, aren't we? Because it's that time of year which I'm going to be honest, I hate, because teams start wearing next season's shirt for the last game or two of this season. Let's just put a stop to that if we could, please. But anyway, and today we've seen on day of record, we have seen the release of the new Bayern Munich home shirt. I have my thoughts on it, Adam, before I rant for 15 minutes about it. What do you think?
I mean, I am interested in your thoughts because obviously you are a fan of the club. You do like Bayern. I don't have a huge affinity to them. I kind of see them a bit as the Man United of Germany. But oddly enough,
How
I do.
dare you?
I mean, come on. But yeah, oddly enough, this is a very boring story, but one of my uncles married a German lady, lives in Munich. And so I have half German cousins and they're Munich fans. So I don't mind them doing well. They're fine. You know what I mean? I've got a slight family link to them. Shirt wise, we've talked about this before. Love Adidas. I think they're great. But it would be cool if there was like a 5-year limit on teams having a certain manufacturer, because I just get bored of it. And I feel like I know what they're doing at the moment. They tend to kind of sway traditional, slightly out there traditional. They do mix it up a little bit, like season by season. And it is better than the current season shirt because their current one with the M on it is dreadful. It's a horrible shirt. So this new one with like the gold on the collar, it's nice, but I find it a little bit boring. And also, I disagree with the ultras. Bring back the blue. I like little blue details, like the color blue on this Copenhagen shirt, like quite a royal blue. I'd love to see that, like on the 92 home, 93, 94 Bayern home. I'd love to see that kind of blue back on one of their shirts, but I don't think it's going to happen. So the main bullet point of that seminar is I think it's okay. It's not a bad shirt. It's better than the current one.
Right. So I'm just going to go straight out there and say, I actually love it. I really, really like it. I think part of that is because I haven't been a huge fan of Bayern shirts, Bayern home shirts, particularly for the last 3 or 4 seasons. For me, it brings back one element which I really like on a Bayern shirt. So for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, firstly, go and have a look because it's easier than us trying to explain it. And I know Adam will probably put an image up whilst I'm chatting now, but it has sort of like a shadow stripe within the main body, the torso of the shirt. And the 2 different reds that they use, the darker red is known as craft red, and it's a really, really sort of like popular color within Bayern Munich shirts. There's a few home shirts, if you look back over the years, where I've used this either, as the more predominant color or even as a secondary color within the main part of the shirt. And I really, really, really like it. So that's like a positive. I would even go as far as saying this is probably my favorite home Bayern shirt. Oh, wow. If I had to pick a year, if I said since a certain year, I'd probably say since. I would say I have to go all the way back to maybe 2014, 15, since I've liked a shirt this much, which was the most recent blue and red striped shirt they used. Think Ribery, Robben, and that sort of era. It's a Brilliant. Magnificent shirt. But you have to go all the way back to them for me to say I truly loved a Bayern. I certainly don't dislike a lot of them since. A couple of them I do dislike, but there's a couple of things before I say what I don't like about the shirt, by the way, I do just want to expand on this season of shirts for Bayern. I think is actually going to be their best set of shirts in a decade. The away shirt is absolutely sublime. It's really clean, really crisp. It's white. It has really dark blue collar and trefoil. It's just really nice. Obviously, the official images are not out yet, so there could be something within the fabric of the shirt to make it even better. The third is very simple. It's a dark color with that sort of like almost fluorescent red/orange that Bayern use quite a lot. It's a color where they've used a lot in the last sort of like 4 or 5 years. I think it looks good. But I think the big one is going to be the Oktoberfest shirt. If you haven't seen that, it's incredible. Adam, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
I've not actually, no.
it is an incredibly colourful, unbelievably beautiful looking shirt with a trefoil on. And again, you'll probably put the leaked image up whilst we're chatting about it now. If that is the shirt that comes through, which I think it's all but confirmed, we know it's going to be predominantly that shirt now. That's also one of the best shirts they've had in the last 10 years. It is amazing. But little bit of a negative point about the new home shirt. We're all starting to push towards liking the authentics a bit more than the stadiums. I'm not overly fussed on it. I don't go out of my way to get authentics because even as deep as I am into football shirts, I still believe in value for money. So if I can get a stadium for much, much better value for money than I can get an authentic, I will do so. And then I will hunt down the authentic at a later date. This shirt, I do not believe the authentic template lends itself to this shirt very well. The patterns that Adidas and Nike and so on are starting to put into these authentic shirts, sometimes I personally feel that like they clash with the pattern of the shirt. And the authentic on this particular shirt, when you look on the Adidas website, I've written a note of what I thought about it because I've basically put that I don't like the pattern on authentic. It disturbs the stripes and it makes it look too busy. So that's my first negative about this. So at the moment, if I was going to buy this shirt, I think I would actually lean towards the stadium for that reason, because I think the design looks cleaner on that. But the biggest thing that I'm unhappy with about this shirt is, so everybody that owns a Bayern shirt will know on the back, for as long as we can remember, at the top of the shirt, it always says FC Bayern Munchen. That is, it's a German club ethos. Yes, it's a German club ethos thing. The idea is, the club is bigger than any player. So in most German clubs, the name always goes under number. I love this idea. But Bayern have changed what's there, and it now just says FC Bayern. And Adam, I hate it. I hate it with every inch of my soul, because I love looking through my shirt collection. And as I flick through them, I see the back, and every single one has that slightly curved FC Bayern Munchen across the back, and it looks fantastic. This looks blocky. It looks ugly, and I just don't like it.
It looks like a name set.
That's the problem. They've kept it really straight.
It looked like a separate kind of thing, didn't it?
Yeah, I just don't think, again, I don't think it looks good. It doesn't look right. They've got the sort of like Mia San Mia logo on the top of the shirt again, which I like on Bayern shirts. But that bit, I mean, it sounds harsh to say that could ruin a shirt for me, but it kind of does. I'm really, really against it way more than I thought I would be, because I never imagined they would change that bit. But apart from that, I do genuinely think it's my favourite Bayern home shirt in probably 10, 11 years.
I think for me, the thing I find interesting is that I do really like seeing blue on a Bayern shirt, and I know the ultras don't like it and some of the fans don't. I look at this shirt and I don't hugely love it as a Bayern shirt, but I look at it and I go, that would be a really good Liverpool shirt, because the gold detailing actually looks quite cool. And we've had obviously yellow as a secondary colour. We have had gold as a secondary colour before as well. And yeah, it's not a bad shirt. Again, I think it would have taken a lot to go lower than the current season, because this current one, which might end up being a Champions League winning shirt. I kind of hope if they do make the final, they wear their away shirt, because it will either be against Atletico or Arsenal, who obviously play in red. So I really hope that Bayern are in an alternative shirt if they make the final against when they play PSG in the semi-final. So yeah, because I don't want that to be a winning shirt if they do.
But
doesn't deserve it.
I would agree. Just on that note, before we move on, if you do decide you want to go and buy a Bayern Munich Champions League shirt, make sure you get it right. For anybody that doesn't know this, on a Champions League shirt, that FC Bayern Munchen that we were talking about at the top of the shirt is not there. So if anybody is selling one that is badged up with Champions League and it has a name set on and it has that FC Bayern Munchen, that is not how it is worn. And it means it's not, if you're picky, like most of the people listening to this podcast are. It is not the Champions League version of the shirt. It is the Standard League version with the Champions League patch. Champions League. I made it an amalgamation with Bundesliga. Then
You did.
Yeah, just do not get the Champions League patch with that Bayern Munich, because it doesn't work. But anyway, we must move on, because Adam, there is something that I want you to tell me about, because you highlighted this and I don't know an awful lot about it, but I've got an opinion on it. So what went on with this Sunderland shirt?
Okay, so an article popped up on the BBC website. And again, this is actually kind of an interesting thing. I see more and more articles about football shirts in kind of national media, which I find quite interesting, but that's an aside. So Arsenal's away shirt, it's the blue one. Very nice shirt. Have to say, I don't like the collar. It's terrible, but it's very royal blue,
Sorry,
white
can
collar.
I just stop you? You said Arsenal's away shirt then?
Did I?
Yeah.
Why did I say Arsenal for?
I don't know, because we probably hate them so much that you've just gone Arsenal. But yeah,
do you know what?
Let's go.
Let's go. No. Thank you for checking. This is what we do. I'm going to start that again and say that Sunderland's away shirt. Do you know what it was? I'm looking at the article and it says Sunderland AFC, and I think I just looked at the AFC, and in my mind I was like Arsenal Football Club. That's my excuse. So Sunderland's away shirt, blue, white, and red collar, very, very cool, and it has a checkerboard pattern in it. And according to this article, an artist is planning to take legal action against Sunderland after the Premier League club printed what he claims is an image of one of his sculptures on its away kit without his permission. And so back in 2008, a sculptor called Andrew Small from Liverpool was commissioned by Sunderland City Council to create a sculpture named C to mark the end of the C to C cycle path. And it's actually a very cool sculpture. So it's kind of square. Again, those watching will see this, but for those listening, it's a large square sculpture that almost looks like it's got the aperture blades from a camera lens. And then in the middle, there's a circle which is cut out. And you can look through the circle and you can see a lighthouse in the distance. It's very nice. And if you look at the shadow print on the football shirt of the Sunderland away shirt, it's got a representation of this sculpture. And he had no idea about this until one of his friends in a pub said, "Oh, by the way, have you seen the Sunderland away shirt?" And he had no idea about it. His mate pulled it up on the phone, showed him, and in his words, it was instantly and absolutely evident it's his work. And so he's calling them out on it. And I think it's quite interesting. Actually, do you know what? What are your thoughts before I go into mine? What do you think about this? So design on a football shirt. What do you think?
So I'm a bit mixed with it, right? Just being really, really honest, and I don't want to upset any artists out there, because that's not what I'm intending to do with my thoughts on it. I would say
Mike
that
is cancelled by the artist community already.
I do think that obviously, ultimately, an artist should be at least consulted if his work is going to be used on a design for something. So I just want to get that bit out there first. I'm not saying that shouldn't have happened, but I do have an element of sympathy for Hummel and Sunderland, because I think that statues, monuments, sculptures, artwork, all sorts is regularly used within the design of football shirts. And what they haven't done is take a photo of it and put a photo of it on the shirt, or done it to the exact detail. I think it is genuinely meant as a good thing for the Sunderland fans to have something to connect to with the local area. And as a football shirt fan, I am all for that, and I think it's an unusual scenario, because when artists often do sculptures for public areas like this, they don't necessarily maintain a copyright on it, because it can be used for photos, sort of like tourist things, like I don't know, like if you go to London, everything you can buy a miniature version of. So, it's a really, really difficult one. So I do have an element of sympathy for the club, because I don't think that it was a malicious intent to rip someone's work off at all. And the shirt is really, really good. And I will be honest, until I read this, I personally had no idea about the sculpture either. So what it has done is it has highlighted that and what that local connection is, which can only be a good thing. But yeah, I have to caveat that by saying I do also understand that he, at the end of the day, he did hold the copyright himself. Therefore, anybody using it or its image does at least need to consult with him for permission slash something for doing that. So it's a bit of a difficult one. I'm a bit like you with some stuff. I'm kind of on the fence with it. I'm not like really angry at Sunderland. And I'm not saying the guy's completely in the wrong. I am kind of sat on the middle going,
Mm,
look, guys, can we kind of just have a little bit of a chat about this? Because ultimately, that guy's sculpture has also been immortalized in a football shirt as well as
mm.
the sculpture itself, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with you on some points. I think it's very cool when kit designers and clubs have elements of the local area in their shirts. I think it's a really interesting nod. And like you, I didn't know this until this article came out. I thought it was just a checkerboard effect. So in some ways, it has given it more kind of airtime, hasn't it? But you mentioned he does have the copyright. And actually, in the article, it says, as part of the agreement with the council, Andrew Small retained copyright for the sculpture with any reproduction of it for commercial reasons requiring a separate agreement. And I get your point that lots of like local things, like sculptures throughout history, have been shown on football shirts. But this is from 2008. It's not like putting Big Ben on a football shirt, if you get what I mean from that. So I agree with you, but I think I side more with him. I don't think it's malicious on either side. And I suspect it will actually get a bit of a handshake. He will probably get like a little bit of money, but not a huge amount. Like it, I think it will get sorted. The other point I wanted to make though is that football clubs and football brands, especially like, kit brands, get very upset at counterfeit shirts. And I know that's slightly different to this, but it is still intellectual property that's been taken by someone else to then make money off something. And essentially, that's almost what they've done to a smaller degree because that football shirt will sell without that shadow print rather than it being, like a fake. But I can also see from his point of view, I created this thing, I have this copyright, and no one even went to the council for them to come to me and say, by the way, Sunderland want to do this. So I think it'll get sorted. And I do agree with you. Like, I didn't know about it until this article. So hopefully there'll be handshakes all round and everyone will end up being happy. And it is actually, again, for those watching, you'll see this, but for those listening, if you Google I'm going to get the name of it correct again, the C to C cycle path is a sculpture called C, but the letter C, but then it's C to C. It's a really cool sculpture. I like it a lot and it gives a real focal point to the lighthouse in the distance. So hopefully they'll work it out.
I hope so. And do you know what? I think you said something there which has actually just leaned me more into one direction, and that is what you said about how brands they do get RC about counterfeits and IP and blah 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 blah. Yeah, so I think I am kind of slightly swayed by that. You're absolutely right. Ultimately, it is their job to ensure that they're not going to get themselves into trouble with things like that. So, okay, yeah, do you know what? I'm all on the artist hype train now. Let's get behind
I,
now.
I think to agree with what you said though, I don't think there was any malicious
No,
intent in it whatsoever, and it is a very cool thing. I think the way that the article kind of went, I feel like the artist does think it's a cool thing. He would have just liked to have been consulted. So hopefully behind the scenes, I mean, this was from a few days ago anyway. Uh, Actually, the article came out on the 24th of April, so it's actually a little while ago this article came out. So hopefully within that time, they've had a chat and things will be sorted. I mean, I don't think it's going to get as far as like the shirt not being for sale. Like it's far too far into the end of the season anyway. Like most people who were going to buy that shirt have already bought it. So there's not an awful lot that can be done with it. So yeah, but again, football kits in the national news, interesting.
yeah, very cool. And speaking of very cool things, Adam,
Oh, I see what you did there because I know what's
hey,
coming up.
you know,
So
yeah, you
yeah,
do. Everyone else can see how clever that was now. Did you see all the fuss in Bournemouth, of all
I
places?
I did see the fuss in Bournemouth. So I briefly saw the news that Bournemouth are moving to Hummel as kit manufacturer, and I thought this was interesting, and I shared it with you, and you were like, "Well, actually, I've got something more interesting about that," and so you may as well go into what you found, which is very cool.
Yes. So it kicked up a bit of a fuss in Bournemouth this week. So basically, it's now public knowledge, especially by the time this pod goes out, that Bournemouth are switching to Hummel for next season for their kits, which, by the way, I think is a really, really good switch. But
as long as they don't put anything in the shadow print that is, like Bournemouth Pier or something, and don't ask if they're allowed to do it. Does
Very
Bournemouth
true.
I assume they have a pier.
But
Never been.
basically, Bournemouth and Hummel did something which I think is pretty cool to announce this, and they jumped on a hype train. So recently, anybody who follows the hip hop genre will know that Drake released an album called Iceman, I believe. Now, this is all from notes. I'm not a fan of Drake myself in any way, shape, or form. But basically, when he did this, he did some kind of ice block thing in Toronto. So what they did was put these big ice blocks down in Bournemouth, and the locals went mad. They, like, some of them who have no idea about football and what any of it means, were convinced this was something to do with Drake. And slowly, as the sculpture melted, there were sort of like social media creators like swarming this thing, waiting to get the first look. And basically, inside was an AFC. It is AFC Bournemouth, isn't it? AFC Bournemouth badge and a Hummel logo to just simply announce the collaboration between the two. Now, I thought that was really, really cool. The people who thought it was going to be a Drake thing did not think that was cool. So I've snipped a selection of my few favorite comments from some of the TikToks that I was watching about this. I'm going to be honest, I haven't written down the names of the people that because they're definitely not going to listen to this podcast.
We don't need to credit them. It's fine.
The first one said, "Told you all it was going to be mid. We live in Bournemouth."
Fair.
Yeah. I really don't care now, to be honest. What an absolute waste of money. I'm so glad I didn't go to Bournemouth for this. Which, by the way, that would have killed me if people were traveling hundreds of miles just to see that logo appear behind the ice. And this is my favorite comment. Someone just put, "I'm glad I know now, but I'm also sad I know now." Which is really good. And then there is one more. Adam, you're going to have to do a little beep here, I think for the first time on this podcast. And someone just simply put, "What a load of bollocks. Bournemouth has lost the plot completely."
Do you know what? I think bollocks is fine. Anyway,
okay, we're good with that.
We're good with that one.
I thought it was just really, really funny. I thought it was a really, really clever way. There are links with Hummel and their roots and ice and snow and everything. And it was just a really, really clever way of jumping on something. And a lot of people fell for it. Hook, line and sinker. But it was good. But yeah, the ultimate take from that is obviously that Bournemouth kits will be made by Hummel next year. And I think that's good. The more teams that jump to Hummel, the better for me, because I just think they're doing really, really good stuff.
See, my only negative with that is that they're jumping from Umbro to Hummel. And I also think that more teams should have Umbro as well.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
Because they do some cool stuff as well. And I really love these heritage brands who do good stuff, but, aren't your Nikes and your Pumas and your Adidas, because they tend to get the majority. And we have seen a bit of a resurgence, specifically with Hummel and Umbro kind of coming back and doing some really good stuff. So that's my only negative with it. But again, like I said right at the start, it is really nice to mix it up. And they've been with Umbro for a while. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Hummel bring to the Bournemouth table. Because, let's not forget, they've done so well to establish themselves as a Premier League team. They really have. A lot of credit has to go to Bournemouth and the owners and the players and the managers and everything over the years. They've done really, really well. And they deserve good kits. They really do. So I'm interested to see what Hummel bring to the table for them.
Sorry, that buzzing's back in my kitchen, so I was just trying to let you talk for a minute to see if it goes away.
Oh, I see. You're buzzing. I don't think people can hear it, but if you can hear it, and I'm going to keep this in because I can't be bothered to take it out, Mike records in his kitchen next to a fridge, and it buzzes.
Do you know what the
sometimes.
thing is? I'm not even sat right next to it. It's just a really loud. Do you know what?
Just get a new fridge, mate.
Nobody cares about this. But when we bought it, the only negatives on the reviews on Amazon said can be quite noisy. And we were like, what does it matter if I have a noisy fridge freezer? And then I started recording my podcast in the kitchen because it's where I have the biggest space. And now I know why people, if they would have
Now
written,
you know.
if you record a podcast in your kitchen, do not buy this fridge freezer, I wouldn't have done so. But hey, now, but look, forget that. We got to move on before we start ranting about that. What's next? I'm sure we had something else we wanted to talk about, didn't we?
Oh, I don't know. That might be the end of it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that is it.
I mean, we've covered quite a lot, to be fair. Like we've had new kit news, we've had, price controversies, we've had ice controversies. It's yeah,
ice that melts, not the other kind of ice.
Yeah. No,
I was going to swear. Then you would have had to beep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have a couple more things though. Right. So firstly, last week I did go along to the Vintage Football Fair in Birmingham that was set up by a few guys, including our friend Granny. I did want to record some stuff there. Now I'm going to be really honest. It was a hell of a lot busier than I anticipated it being, which made it quite difficult to record stuff because there wasn't an awful lot of space to kind of just pitch up and start chatting to people. So I think the next time one of these events happens, I'm going to try and see if I can coax Adam out of Norwich. And I'd like to actually set something up there to sit down and talk to people whilst we're there, for people who want to talk to us as well.
So do you want me to be there, or is it just because that part of my job is to do this kind of stuff and I've got fancy microphones and things? It's that, isn't it? Yeah, you don't actually want me there.
You've got that fancy little camera. You can set up multiple mics.
Want me for my technology.
So that's absolutely it. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. And yeah, and you can buy lunch as well. But no, it was actually really, really good. I took my little boy along. It was really, really nice to catch up with Granny because I haven't seen him in a little while. Catch up with a couple of other guys as well. There's a really, really nice chap that I want to give a shout out. My apologies. I think his actual name is Matt, but his Insta is Retro Kickoff. He was selling some really, really good shirts at really good prices. Definitely check him out. The guys from Football Finery were there as well. There were some really, really good sellers there with a lot of shirts. Obviously, as you can imagine, these events prices were sometimes very high, sometimes very low. It was a bit of a mixed bag. But not only that, I got to meet some really, really cool people. So little story, last year I was fortunate enough to travel to Istanbul to go and watch Fenerbahce play, and I took my little boy and I wanted to buy him a vintage Fenerbahce shirt whilst I was there. So I bought one off eBay and I ended up chatting to the guy that I bought it from, and he's a really, really lovely guy. And turned out we followed each other on Instagram and didn't even know it. So I was chatting to him, and then a few months later I decided, because I'm all in on Fenerbahce, I owned a Galatasaray jacket that was wasted with me, so I sold that on eBay. And he bought that from me. And that guy was actually at the football fair. So it was amazing to kind of meet him. And he was wearing the Galatasaray jacket as well, which was even better.
Nice.
He had a Galatasaray jacket on. In fact, I got some photos from it. We'll put them up. I'll send them to Adam. We can put them up when I'm chatting about this. He was wearing the Galatasaray jacket, which is like an old one from sort of like 96 sort of time. And he was wearing like a really old Adidas Galatasaray shirt as well, which is very, very cool. But it was just a really, really good event. And if anybody listening sees one and you're just considering going along, honestly, just do it, because it's just really, really good fun. And like I say, Adam, wherever the next one is, I think we're going to have to do an overnighter, mate, and go along and do a little bit of pod stuff from there.
Because that's my issue. Obviously, I live in Norwich. And don't get me wrong, it's a fine city. I love it here. But my God, it's hard getting anywhere. we don't have motorways in Norfolk. There's no motorways. And even getting to London via train can be a ball ache. Like, it depends on the time. But if you're going on a Sunday, I mean, I've lived in this area. I came to uni here, so that was like 2002, 2003. And my wife lives in Kent. And I don't think I've ever known there to not be a bus replacement service on a Sunday. If we're going to Kent via London, it's just getting anywhere. It's like everywhere else. It's like, oh, you're in Birmingham. Yeah, there's a train to Liverpool or a train to Edinburgh that takes you 50 minutes. But from Norwich, like, everything is just... So what I'm saying is, can they do the Retro Football Fair in Norwich and make it easier for me?
I was just going to say that, actually. I was going to say
do that.
If they're listening, head over to Norwich, or just in Norfolk.
Because there are a lot of collectors here. Like
Yes, there are.
I think there's quite a high percentage. I mean, I think a lot of people listening, if you're into football shirts, you will know Billy, the Norwich City football shirt collector, who has a crazy collection. But I know that there will be people listening. Forbidden Football Shirts, for example, on Twitter is from the area as well. Scott now lives in the area. Those of you new to this podcast might just think we're making this Scott person up. He was on our old podcast, and he says he will be here eventually when he doesn't get scared of video. So hopefully one day you might meet Scott. But he's in the area as well. So I'm just saying that there is a target audience right here who can't get out of the county because of bad transport. So come to us.
I will. I'll get
beg.
on WhatsApp to Tom, aka Granny, and see what he says. Eh?
That's Granny's football store in case people don't know who Granny is.
Yeah, for those who don't know, definitely go and check out granniesfootballstore.com, because he is. I met him as a seller, and he's become a good friend. I've been up to Sheffield to see him and go to his little space up there, which is just brilliant. And there's a lot of stuff like this for the community to go along and get involved in shirt collecting and buying shirts. And he's one of the best guys in it. Just go check him out.
Lovely guy.
He is, and he's like us. He's a collector as well. He's not just somebody who sells shirts. He is a genuine collector. He has got one of the most amazing shirt collections I've ever seen. So,
but also he's the kind of seller who sources stuff that you can't get hold of. He's not just. We can get into this all day, but you get some sellers who literally just buy stuff on eBay and then ramp up the price. And that's not him. He's the kind of person who will do deals with people across the world, get a good price for something in bulk. They win because they're selling some shirts that they don't want, and then he sells them on a little bit. But it's that kind of like everyone wins kind of thing. Is like that. I wouldn't be able to get those shirts if he hadn't have done what he's done, kind of thing. He's that kind of seller.
Yeah, I think that's the key with guys like Tom. When they're buying in bulk, they're getting them for a lot less than we would pay for them if we bought them individually from some sort of like sellers abroad and so on. So then ultimately, when Tom gets those shirts, the prices he puts them up at they're not offensive at all. I've bought shirts from him myself.
Very fair. It's
very fair. Along with a lot of other sellers as well. And, as we do this podcast, we're not going to be scared to call out good sellers. We're not here. We're not earning anything from them or any nonsense like that. We're just talking about guys that we think are really, really good within this game. But yeah, right, Adam, I got a question for you.
Go on then.
It's a would you rather. It's nothing rude. It's nothing I shouldn't be asking on a podcast that goes onto YouTube. It is a football shirt, would you rather? So, would you rather only collect shirts from one club or only collect shirts made by one manufacturer or brand?
What if I only collect Bayern Munich shirts?
Well,
I was going to say Germany, but again, like they're switching to Nike, which I'm fascinated by.
Yeah.
No, that's a good question. And it's kind of relevant in a sense because I've mentioned before, I have a lot of Liverpool shirts and I want to collect all of the Liverpool shirts I can. And I have them all from 1981 outfield ones commercially available. But there's a lot of Adidas shirts that I would not want to not have in my collection. And Adidas would definitely be the brand. Like if we're talking brands, like Adidas would be 100% the only brand that I would collect. If it was one or the other, like club or brand, it would be Liverpool, it would be Adidas. But if we're just talking brands, it would be Adidas over everyone else. So I think because this is what I'm doing, I would have to say club. But it's a close second to only collecting Adidas because there would be an awful lot of shirts that I would be very sad to no longer collect. But I'm going to go club. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, it is difficult because as far as clubs go, I have technically four unique club collections. So obviously I collect my Aston Villa shirts, I collect Bayern Munich, I collect Fenerbahce, and it's only a small collection because there was only a small amount of shirts to get, but I collect the Kansas City Wizards or Wiz rainbow shirts.
I get it.
But it would be painful because the most part of my collection I would lose would be the bulk of my Villa shirts, which is hard because, for example, the Asics 93-95 shirts are the reason I support Aston Villa, which I know I listened back and you said was a terrible reason to support a shirt, and I resent that comment.
Okay, do you know what? Maybe I'll take it back just because you are such a football kit fan that it makes sense. But yeah, generally,
I do know where you're
okay.
coming from, though.
Yeah.
But so I would lose the Asics Villa shirts, I would lose the Hummel shirts, a couple of the Umbros that I love, but ultimately, I would have to go with one brand, and it would be Adidas, like yourself. It means my entire Bayern Munich collection would be kept, at least for now. I do have a lot of Germany international shirts, and I'd get to keep all of those up until now. Fenerbahce, I would lose a small portion of those because of times they were made in-house by their Fenerian brand, and then for the 3 to 4 seasons they had Puma. But again, the bulk of it there would be kept with Adidas, and just the sort of like the bulk of my favorite shirts is Adidas. And I think I could get by. It's painful to say it as a Villa fan, but if I'm answering just wholeheartedly and honestly, I think I would go brand with Adidas, and I would have to give up my Villa shirts. Now, before anybody says it, because I get a lot of people asking me if I sell them my Villa shirts. This is a hypothetical question.
Hypothetical. We're not doing this.
Fortunately, I don't have to do it, which is why I can give an answer.
Oh, no. This is legally, this is binding. We've recorded this.
We best stop recording right now then. But no, I think that I'm going to be honest as well. I think I would get bored if I was only collecting one club, especially when you get to the point where you've pretty much got everything. Because, like, for example, with Bayern Munich, I did get to the point where I pretty much had everything that was obtainable from a certain period.
Anyway, don't they?
I am not even getting into that with you right now. And so what I've done is I looked at it the other day. I haven't bought a Bayern Munich shirt since I bought the Olympia Stadion special, which was 3 to 4 or 5 years ago now, or however long it was.
Is that the one you showed last week? The cream one with like the yellow and the green.
That's it. Yeah,
screen, but we all know this one,
essentially put myself on a break from buying them to give myself years worth to collect again, because I was so focused on Bayern Munich. I wasn't buying anything else, and I wouldn't say it got boring, but it got to a point where all I could do was buy the most recent shirt, unless something unbelievable come up, which it just doesn't very often. So I think that plays into it as well. I think that means that's why I would go with the brand, because it's never ending. Then there's so many Adidas shirts out there I would like to own, and if I was in this hypothetical situation where I was selling the bulk of my collection that wasn't Adidas, I'd have a great big pot to go and buy some of these incredible Adidas shirts with as well. So I think that's why I go that way. We'll put that out on the socials as well. I think that's a good question, just to see what people would say. Good stuff. I think we can nearly stop gibbering now. So before we do, Adam, I think we should finish by giving a little recommendation again. Have you watched anything good, listened to anything amazing, or played anything that particularly entertained you recently?
So I'm going to show you, actually. So again, for those listening, so I've got myself into kind of like this pit of despair. I read a lot of comics. I'm up to 39 comics read, like trade paperbacks or collections read this year. And I read Mouse, which is by Art Spiegelman, which is about the Holocaust. And then I read Palestine by Joe Sacco, which is set his experiences in Gaza between the end of 91 and very early 92. And then I played The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us 2. And so it's all been quite dark. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to lighten things up. I'm going to pick a comic that's nice and cheerful. But then my friend Terry recommended a book called Assorted Crisis Events. And it's 5 stories. It's an anthology. There's more coming out, but this is the first trade paperback. So if you like comics, read this. It's all about time is in crisis, or people are in crisis. And it touches on themes like climate change, trauma, anxiety. But it is genuinely, hands down, probably one of the greatest comics I've ever read. It's so good. The stories are gripping. It's really well written. The art is fantastic. The colours used in it, like shout out to the colorist as well. It's really cool. So if you like comics and you like being miserable when you read stuff, assorted crisis events. And again, those listening can't see this, but throughout all of the 5 stories, even though they're not directly connected, there's always an old man with a jetpack just yelling at people kind of involved in it. And so for those watching, you can see it on the screen. But yeah, it's just very cool. I know probably there's a limited crossover between people who collect football shirts and people who are really into comics. But if you are just like me and you love football shirts and you really like comics, then Assorted Crisis Events is by Dennis Camp, and the illustrator is someone called, I can't remember the first, it might be Eric Zawadsky. It's just very good. So that's what I've been doing. I've been reading and rereading this.
Sounds
Mike,
good.
what have you been
So
up to?
just before I give you my recommendation for this week, I would say that I reckon the kind of like the crossover is probably bigger than we think, because ultimately the reason we collect shirts like we do is because we're nerds. We do it to a scale which I think makes us nerdy, and I think that's why. Yeah, the
Are you
Star
saying
Wars
comics
fan
and
base,
nerdy as well?
yes, and absolutely they should be proud of being so. I think being nerdy is a good thing now. But I am going to take it to a different type of nerdy. And because we're recording this on Star Wars Day, I am going to stick with the Star Wars recommendation. And my recommendation is for anybody out there who hasn't watched much or anything in the way of Star Wars. So if you are someone new, I want to give you a point to start at. I think you can relate to this, Adam, because I know you've mentioned to me that you've watched this as well. So if you want to get into Star Wars, I want you to go and watch Andor, the series, season 1 and season 2. It is not a Star Wars series. It will give you an idea of what Star Wars is, but it is an absolute masterpiece of TV. It is just simply one of the best TV shows you will ever take the time to sit down and watch. And you can watch that series all the way through, and then you can finish off by watching the movie Rogue One, which will then bring you more into the Star Wars fold, because Rogue One, along with Andor, is one of the most beautiful, heartbreaking movies I've ever watched in my life. And I know I'm a Star Wars nerd, but even if I took that away from it, it's just an incredibly beautiful film to watch. So that is what I would recommend to do. And then if you really have no interest in watching any more Star Wars media after that, then that's fine. But don't miss out on Andor season 1 and 2 and Rogue One because you think you don't like Star Wars. So please, please, please go and do that.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I think Rogue One, when it came out, blew me away because I don't mind Star Wars. I know we joke about it. I quite like Star Wars. But sometimes it can fall into a little bit, like good versus evil, lightsabers, swish, swish, swish. Andor, it could not be Star Wars. It is Star Wars, but it could also, like it's not reliant on it being a Star Wars story, if that makes sense. And it's just a really, really solid series, 2 seasons, and then Rogue One, just a fantastic film. Yeah, they're great. If you've never watched them, that's kind of a madness, but they are the ones that if you were only going to watch that from Star Wars, I would rank them over like the original films. Not saying they're better, but if you're not into kind of like space fighting and stuff, then I would go with Andor.
Definitely. I think Andor, the series, is a political espionage spy thriller that is just simply set in the Star Wars universe, and it has massive implications on the Star Wars story. But you don't need to know all of that. It's kind of it's a bonus if you know all of it for Star Wars nerds like me who can fill in little gaps, but it's genuinely not relevant. But I also think that it's a really, 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 really good introduction to the Star Wars universe, because you can just see how brilliant it actually is, and that it's not just all nerds with laser swords.
And it's got Diego Luna as well, who is brilliant. Diego Luna is great.
It does. There are some brilliant actors in it. But I mentioned laser swords, but I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? If you're gonna watch Star Wars, wait. And Adam's got a stormtrooper. Look at that. It won't quite go over.
I can't wear it because it won't go over their headphones.
So I think my lightsaber is running out of battery, so I think it's going to keep turning off. But yeah, if yeah, that's my recommendation. Go watch Andor, then get into Star Wars, and I'm gonna basically try and convince Adam now to watch more Star Wars stuff.
I mean, I have watched quite a lot. So again, for those watching, I have just got a Stormtrooper helmet. There is a story behind this. So my actual day job is I work for a library service and I do the social media for it. And as it's Star Wars Day today, I borrowed a helmet from my friend Patrick to do a very silly TikTok/Instagram reel. I don't own a Stormtrooper helmet, but obviously I mentioned this to Mike and I was like, look, I got a Stormtrooper helmet. And we might even share the photos of your helmet collection.
Yeah,
because you were like, okay, like whatever, Adam, look at what I've got here. So
do you know what?
yeah, you are
It's
such a nerd.
it's a bit like the shirt thing because Adam, you showed me that helmet, and I knew exactly what one it was. And ironically, it's a Stormtrooper. It's specifically a Rogue One Stormtrooper, because all these sort of Black Series helmets come with a theme. That's what this one is as well. It's from the Acolyte and so on. But yeah, Adam, you're absolutely right. The problem is, anyone listening to this podcast will understand because we aren't just football shirt collectors. We are collectors. If we start picking things up, we end up collecting it.
We have a problem.
We really do. We really do. I genuinely have a problem. I have an enabler in my house as well, which is my wife, which is not a criticism at all. I love her with all my heart, and she is brilliant with this sort of thing because she doesn't discourage me from doing the things that I love, and that's why I'm with her, because she encourages it. She pushes me to, no, if you want to buy a load of Star Wars helmets and put them on the wall in the living room, crack on and do it if it's what makes you happy. So that's what I did. I now have 5 or 6 replica lightsabers. Some of them costing way more than any of my football shirts have ever cost, by the way. I have a collection of helmets now as well. I might even start putting a helmet in here every week on my little setup, just so those Star Wars nerds watching can just follow along and see which helmets I've got. But yeah, it's the collectionist in all of us, isn't it? It's the same with the shirts. If we can't help it, we just like cool things.
We do like cool things, and Star Wars is cool. It is cool. You know, we joke about it, but yeah. You're all right, you are, Mike. You're fine.
Right. On that note, I think we end it there. We end it with, you're all right, you are, Mike. That's it. That's the line. That's the name of this episode.
Yep. The kits are all right. Mike is all right.
Brilliant. Right. Anybody that doesn't, make sure you go follow us on follow us. I went all Dutch again then. I do that every week at some point. Follow us everywhere. Just get on YouTube. We don't have a massive viewership on YouTube because we're very new there, but all of our subscribers from the old podcast followed over onto Spotify, so that's where the majority of our viewership comes from. But I would like to push into the YouTube a little bit more, so if you are a YouTuber, by all means get over there, watch it on there. If you want episodes about anything in particular, please tell us, especially now that these are visual. We've had a lot of really, really great feedback on the fact that it's visual now. Me and Adam still talk an absolute load of nonsense for the best part of an hour every week. You just get the benefit of seeing what we're talking nonsense about now. So yeah, give us ideas. If there are guests you want us to get, do so. We've got a few lined up. Once we've got it right ourselves and we're making sure we're happy with the video content we're putting out, we'll start pulling these guests in and bringing new people in as well. So yeah, that is all to come. And yeah, I think that is it. I think we've got to go now, Adam, because I'm just going to start talking Star Wars again and why people should accept Acolyte as canon and stop being whiny little so-and-sos.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Thanks for listening, watching. Love you all. Bye.
Bye. No Dele Alli wave this week. Oh, Adam's Dele Alli wave. He is.
Dele Alli wave.
Oh, well, whatever then. Bye.